It's TribLIVE Radio, TribLIVE.com, brought to you by the Team Spanos Group of Raymond James. I'm Ken Laird. March Madness recap here on the .com. Tournament starting on Thursday. You know that, March 17th. You'll be taking off work or just not paying attention at work. Duke and UNC Wilmington kick it off. The Pipes of Iron Eagle on CBS in the Providence region, and then, boy, it starts. It's going to run through, of course, the Madness Thursday and Friday. The local teams, Pitt and Wisconsin, starting 6:50 on Friday night. And Pitt right now in the St. Louis bracket will be the third game in that location. On TNT, Wisconsin is a 1.5 favorite. Pitt the dog is the 10 seed. West Virginia will start up 20 minutes later at 7:10 on CBS on the Big Stick. They are a 7.5 point favorite on Stephen F. Austin. We have already seen half of the play-in games, the first four in Dayton, and quite the reaction to nationally Vanderbilt, one of the bubble teams that got in, and people complained about them getting in, getting bounced quickly by a mid-major or a low-major, depending how you want to view it, in Wichita State. They got run last night 70-50. We did a lot of work the first couple days of the week talking about who got in, who deserved it, who didn't deserve it. Vanderbilt, the team that's out, was only 2-7 against top 50 RPI teams. 2-7. Which, incidentally, Pitt was 2-7 against top 50 RPI teams, so perhaps that bodes poorly for the Panthers. But how did they get in? They got in by scheduling or having, because of their conference opportunities, a lot of teams to play. They had 9 games against top 50 RPI teams. They didn't win. It didn't really even matter. That's how screwed up this whole system is, especially when it comes to RPI, which Vanderbilt was a 61 RPI, so, them getting in, they didn't go strictly by RPI because Monmouth was a 55. They didn't get in. St. Mary's was a 40 RPI. They didn't get in. St. Bonaventure was a 30 RPI. They did not get in. So it's not all RPI, but RPI is heavy schedule strength. It's part of the equation that they claim to use. Vandy was 61, but where they had good numbers, particularly, was non-conference strength of schedule, 42. They had the best non-conference schedule strength of all these teams, Tulsa, St. Bonaventure, St. Mary's, Monmouth. So if you're on the committee and you're looking at Vanderbilt and you're thinking, all right, that's a big school team that's scheduled strong, out of conference, they played in the SEC. Even though they were only 2-7, they were 7-10 against top 100 teams, so let's give them some credit for 7 top 100 wins. Let's put them in. And then they get run, and you think, did they overreact to the schedule strength? Because you boost your schedule strength even if you don't win those games. If you just play good teams, you boost your schedule. Think about this with RPI. If you're like a top 10 nationally ranked team, if you would play a low-level conference, like a conference leader, let's say you would play a really good team from the Atlantic 10 that has a respectable record, and you would beat them by 25, the RPI would improve. If you play a team from a small conference like the Atlantic 10, like Duquesne, and you beat them by 35, your RPI would plummet. So you get punished for playing Duquesne in this particular case. Even if you beat them, even if you crush them, your RPI might go down based on Duquesne's schedule, strength of schedule, and their opponent's strength of schedule. So the RPI drops just because you play a team with a bad winning percentage. And it puts this whole thing into question as to who should be in and who should be out. There are so many different factors that I'm sure the committee does think about, but when it comes back to it, they throw out these RPIs and strength of schedules, and it seems like a red herring. They want the big schools in for the money, for the eyeballs, follow the money trail. That's always the way it goes. In the case of Vanderbilt, they got the benefit of the doubt. A lot of experts didn't think they should, and on the court, at least on the first 4, it was proved out. They got whacked by Wichita State. Let's see how Pitt does. And West Virginia, for that matter, coming up on Friday.